Snow fell like broken feathers, tumbling from a sky heavy with secrets. Sophia stood at the window of her small wooden cabin, watching the world disappear under a blanket of white. The wind howled through the pine trees like a wounded animal. Inside, the fire crackled softly. Her little girl, Emma, slept on the couch wrapped in a quilt, her tiny hand clutching a stuffed rabbit. Sophia whispered to herself, "We'll be okay, sweetheart. Just one more night." Her breath fogged the glass. The temperature had dropped below zero. Then a faint, distant rumble. At first she thought it was thunder, but the sound grew louder, closer. Engines. Her heart skipped. Headlights cut through the swirling snow, one, then another, then dozens. Motorcycles. She froze. Bikers? Out here? In this storm? Moments later, a fist pounded on her door. "Ma'am!" A rough voice shouted through the wind. "Please! We need shelter." Sophia's pulse raced. 20. Maybe more men stood outside, their leather jackets caked with ice, faces pale from cold. Her instincts screamed to lock the door. She was alone, a single mom in the middle of nowhere. But then she looked at them, trembling, frost clinging to their beards, eyes hollow with exhaustion. She took a shaky breath and opened the door. "Come in," she said quietly. They shuffled inside, their boots thudding against the wooden floor, melting snow pooling beneath them. The smell of gasoline, leather, and frozen air filled the room. The tallest man stepped forward. His name patch read Robert. "Didn't mean to scare you, ma'am," he said, voice rough but kind. "We got caught in the storm on our way back from a memorial ride. We didn't think we'd make it." Sophia nodded. "You're lucky you did." She gave them blankets, poured hot soup, and stoked the fire higher. The bikers sat in silence, steam rising from their bowls. For a while, no one spoke. The only sound was the wind scratching against the windows. Then one of the men whispered, "You saved our lives tonight, miss." Sophia smiled faintly, just doing what anyone would do. But deep down, she knew not everyone would. As the storm raged outside, she couldn't help but wonder, who were these men really, and why did something about them feel unfinished? Silent moment. Wind whistling through the chimney, a log cracking in the fire. That night, as Emma slept in her arms, Sophia heard something else outside. Faint voices, distant engines again, echoing through the valley. Her heart tightened. There shouldn't be anyone else out there. Each chapter will build emotion, suspense, and warmth, leading to a powerful, heart-stirring ending. When Sophia woke, the world was quiet. Too quiet. The fire had burned low, its last embers glowing faintly in the gray light of dawn. The cabin smelled of ash and coffee, and something else. Something heavy. She sat up, pulling on her sweater. Emma still slept, her small chest rising and falling beneath the quilt. For a moment, everything seemed peaceful. The storm had passed. The sky was pale, washed clean. Snow blanketed the trees in perfect silence. Then a sound, a deep, steady rumble, started faint like distant thunder. Then it grew, louder, closer. Her coffee cup trembled on the table. The ground began to vibrate. Arrrrm, arrrrm. She stepped to the window, her breath catching. What in the world? Outside, rows upon rows of motorcycles. Engines idling. Headlights blazing through the fog. Not 25. Not 50. 200. Her heart slammed against her ribs. The men from last night stirred, rubbing their eyes, confused by the noise. Robert, the tall one with kind eyes and a scar on his cheek, walked to the door and froze. "Holy hell," he whispered. "They came." Sophia's voice shook. "Who came?" He looked back at her, guilt flickering across his face. "My brothers." "What do you mean your brothers?" Robert swallowed hard. "You saved us last night." Word spread fast. "We called the chapter, all of them. They wanted to come. To thank you." Sophia blinked, lost between relief and disbelief. 200 bikers? To thank me? Robert gave a small, almost embarrassed nod. "Yeah, We're not the kind of people who forget kindness, ma'am. Outside, men and women were climbing off their bikes, shaking snow from their jackets. The sound of engines dimmed into murmurs, boots crunching in the snow. The air smelled of exhaust and cold metal. Sophia stepped outside, her boots sinking into the frost. The bikers looked up at her. 200 strangers in leather and denim, faces red from the cold, eyes warm with respect. One of them, a woman with short black hair and a bandana, stepped forward, holding a box wrapped in red paper. "Morning, ma'am," she said softly. "Heard you took care of our boys last night." Sophia hesitated. "I just did what anyone would." The woman smiled. Not everyone would open their door to strangers in the middle of a storm. The box was heavy. Sophia unwrapped it slowly. Inside was a brand new generator, boxes of food, firewood, winter gear, even toys for Emma. Her throat tightened. She looked at the crowd. I don't know what to say." Robert stepped beside her. "Just say you'll let us help you now. You've done enough." The bikers began unloading supplies, laughing, working together as the morning sun spilled gold over the snow. Sophia felt her eyes sting. She hadn't seen this much kindness in years. Not since before Emma's father died. Emma ran outside in her pink boots, clutching her stuffed rabbit. "Mommy, look at all the motorcycles." Laughter rippled through the crowd. One of the bikers crouched down. "You like bikes, little lady?" Emma nodded shyly. "They're loud. Best sound in the world." The man grinned. "Means family's close." Sophia smiled through tears. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel alone. But as she turned toward the tree line, she noticed something. Far beyond the crowd, near the bend of the road, a dark van sat idling. No markings, no sound, just still, watching. Sophia's smile faded. She whispered, almost to herself, "Who's that?" Robert followed her gaze, and his expression changed instantly. His jaw tightened. "That," he said slowly, "is not one of ours." Silent pause. Wind shifts. Engines cut off. Only the sound of a distant crow. Sophia felt the warmth of the moment slip away, replaced by a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. Something wasn't right. The wind had gone still. Every biker froze. Engines silent, breaths visible in the cold morning air. Sophia could feel the tension tighten like a rope being pulled too hard. The dark van sat halfway down the snowy road, its windshield glinting beneath the pale sunlight. No one got out. No movement. Robert took a step forward, his boots crunching in the frost. "Stay here," he muttered. Sophia grabbed his sleeve. "Robert, what's going on? Who are they?" He looked at her, eyes sharp but protective. "Someone we've had trouble with before. Don't worry, we'll handle it." The air thickened with unease. A few bikers moved toward their motorcycles. Engines roared back to life. Loud, thunderous, defiant. The sound echoed through the valley like a warning. Sophia scooped up Emma, holding her close. The child could sense it, the sudden heaviness in the air. "Mommy, what's wrong?" "Nothing, sweetheart," she whispered, even as her heart pounded. "Just stay with me." Robert and two others, Michael and John, walked toward the van. Snow crunched under their boots. The others formed a silent line behind them, 200 leather jackets gleaming in the light. It was surreal. The same men who'd been laughing and handing out food minutes ago now looked like an army, calm, disciplined, dangerous if they needed to be. The van door creaked open. A man stepped out, tall, heavy coat, sunglasses that hid his eyes. Robert's shoulders stiffened. "You lost, buddy?" The man smiled thinly. "No, just making sure our friends made it through the storm." Robert's tone darkened. "We're not your friends." The man's gaze flicked toward the cabin, toward Sophia. "Looks like you've found yourself a new family, huh?" Sophia's stomach twisted. Who was this man? Robert's fists clenched. "You don't belong here. Turn around. Now." For a long, icy moment, nobody moved. Even the birds had gone silent. Then, slowly, the man lifted a hand in mock surrender, smirked, and stepped back into the van. The engine started. Tires spun. The vehicle rolled away, leaving only 2 deep tracks in the snow. The sound faded, but the silence that followed was heavier than before. Sophia exhaled shakily. Robert? Who was that? He hesitated, looked toward his men, then back at her. An old debt collector. For a long time, our club wasn't exactly clean, but we've been trying to make things right. Sophia frowned. And he came here because of that? Robert nodded slowly. Maybe. Or maybe because word's spreading that we were out here. He might have been tracking us. Sophia glanced down at Emma, her daughter's small hand gripping hers. Are we in danger? Robert's jaw tightened. Not if I can help it. He turned to his men. All right, brothers, nobody rides alone today. Keep eyes on the road, the tree line, everything. We stay here until we're sure it's clear. The bikers nodded. No hesitation, just trust. Sophia's cabin suddenly felt smaller, but strangely safer too. Surrounded by engines, loyalty, and the quiet promise that these strangers would protect her if anything happened. As night began to fall again, the bikers lit fires outside. The smell of wood smoke and grilled meat filled the air. Laughter slowly returned, cautious at first, then real. Sophia sat on the porch with Robert, sipping coffee as sparks drifted into the dark sky. You didn't have to stay, she said softly. Robert smiled faintly. You didn't have to open your door to us either. For a while they said nothing, just listened, to the crackle of fire, to Emma's laughter somewhere among the bikes, to the forest breathing around them. Then, somewhere in the distance, faint, almost lost in the wind, came a sound. Engines. Not theirs. Different tone. Different rhythm. Robert set his cup down slowly. You hear that? Sophia nodded, her heart dropping into her stomach. He stood, eyes scanning the darkness beyond the trees. This isn't over, he whispered. Silent pause, the faint roar of engines closing in through the night. Who were those men? And why did it feel like the storm wasn't really over after all? The night pressed down heavy and cold. The air was still, too still. Sophia could feel it in her chest, that quiet warning before something breaks. The fires outside had burned low, shadows flickering across the snow. The bikers spoke in low voices, eyes scanning the tree line. Emma had fallen asleep in her arms, her small body warm against Sophia's. Then the sound came again. Engines. Louder now. Closer. Dozens of them. Robert rose to his feet, his voice calm but hard. Lights out. Everyone get ready. The fires were smothered. The laughter stopped. In seconds, the yard that had been alive with noise turned silent and tense. The only light came from the moon cutting through the trees. Sophia whispered, Robert, what's happening? He took a slow breath. They found us. Headlights burst through the woods, blinding, chaotic. Dark figures on bikes swarmed in, circling the cabin like wolves. The air filled with the roar of engines and the crunch of tires on snow. Sophia held Emma tight, her heart slamming in her chest. Robert and his men stood shoulder to shoulder, engines rumbling behind them like thunder. Then one voice cut through the chaos, the man from the van. He stepped forward, grinning. Told you we'd meet again, Robert. You owe us. Robert's voice was steady. Not anymore. We're done with you. The man laughed, cold and sharp. You think hiding behind a woman and a kid makes you clean? Sophia stepped forward before she even realized she was moving. Enough! She shouted, her voice trembling but fierce. You want to settle something? Leave my home out of it. The man looked at her, smirking. You got guts, lady. Robert moved in front of her. You heard her. This is over. The night exploded. Engines revved. Boots crunched. Men shouted, the sound raw and wild, echoing through the frozen forest. But it wasn't chaos. Robert's men moved like one body. They didn't fight to destroy, they fought to protect, to shield the cabin. Snow churned beneath their boots. Sparks flew as metal hit metal. Shouts and grunts tore through the night. Sophia crouched behind the porch with Emma, heart hammering, whispering prayers she hadn't spoken in years. Then silence. just the hiss of cooling engines, the smell of smoke and oil. When Sophia dared to look up, the rival bikers were gone, their taillights vanishing into the dark. The snow was torn up, blood and tire tracks marking where the battle had been. Robert stood in the middle of it all, breathing hard, a cut on his cheek. His eyes found hers. "It's over," he said softly. Sophia walked to him, her hands shaking. "You're hurt." He smiled faintly. "Been worse." For a long time, they stood in the cold, surrounded by silence, the kind that comes after chaos. And in that stillness, Sophia realized something. The men she had once feared, the strangers at her door, had become her protectors, her friends. But deep inside, she knew the story wasn't quite finished yet. Because sometimes, when life throws storms your way, it's not about surviving them. It's about who stands beside you when the snow finally stops. The sun rose quiet and golden, spilling over the white hills. The snow sparkled like broken glass. Sophia opened the door and stepped out into the cold morning air. The yard was a mess of footprints, tire tracks, and melted snow. But it was peaceful now. The bikers were packing up, laughter low and tired, their breath fogging in the light. Someone was flipping pancakes on a camping stove. Another was fixing a dented bike. It looked like a small, ragtag family, bruised but unbroken. Robert stood near his motorcycle, his jacket draped over his shoulder. His eyes found hers immediately. "You sure you'll be all right out here?" he asked. Sophia smiled softly. "I think we both know I've been all right for a long time. Just lonely." Robert chuckled. "Yeah, loneliness can hit harder than any storm." He hesitated, looking at her one last time. "You saved us that night, Sophia. I don't know how to thank you." She looked around at the men loading supplies, the generator humming, the new firewood stacked neatly against the cabin. "I think you already did." Emma came running out, waving a small leather patch one of the bikers had given her. "Mommy, look, they said I'm an honorary biker now." Everyone laughed. Robert knelt beside Emma, smiling. "You've got a brave mom, kiddo. Never forget that." Sophia's eyes misted. "Where will you go now?" "Home," he said. "We've got work to do. Maybe make this club something better than it used to be." He swung a leg over his bike. Engines started one by one, a deep, rolling chorus that filled the valley. Snow lifted in the air as the first bikes pulled away, sunlight flashing on chrome. Robert lingered just a moment longer, his eyes meeting Sophia's one last time. "Take care of yourself, Sophia." "You too, Robert." He smiled, gave a small nod, and revved the engine. The sound rumbled through her chest, powerful, familiar, alive. And just like that, they were gone. The last echo of engines faded into the forest, leaving only quiet and the soft whisper of wind through the pines. Sophia looked out at the road, her heart full of gratitude, of peace, of something new she couldn't quite name. Emma tugged at her sleeve. "Mommy, do you think they'll come back someday?" Sophia smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her daughter's face. "I hope so, sweetheart. Some people, they ride into your life for a reason." Silent moment. Wind sighs, fire crackles inside the cabin. She looked toward the empty road and whispered to herself, "Maybe kindness travels farther than we think." If you were in Sophia's place that stormy night, would you have opened the door or kept it locked? What do you think? Does one act of kindness have the power to change everything?